Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Galactic Federation research vessel, Harmonious Dawn, watching the stars stream past through the massive viewing screen. The ship moved silently through space near the outer rim of explored territory, its crystalline hull catching and refracting distant starlight into beautiful patterns that danced across the bridge walls. She had commanded this vessel for 12 years, leading countless first contact missions with primitive species throughout the galaxy. The bridge bustled with quiet activity as her diverse crew worked at their stations. Commander Veltar of the Zanari stood at the communications array, his tall, graceful form topped by the distinctive crystalline communication nodes that allowed his species to interface directly with electronic systems. Near the science stations, Dr. Marcus Chen bent over holographic displays showing stellar cartography data, his human heritage making him one of the few members of his species in Federation service. The insectoid Cathara navigation officer chittered softly as she coordinated with her hive mind collective, while Delphian engineers in their water-filled work pods used sonar pulses to monitor the ship's bio-integrated systems. This mission seemed routine compared to their usual assignments. The Federation's exploration network had detected primitive radio signals from an unremarkable yellow star system, followed by what appeared to be the signature of early faster-than-light experiments. Captain Rodriguez had seen this pattern dozens of times before. A species would achieve basic interstellar travel. The Federation would make peaceful contact, and within a few decades that species would join the galactic community as grateful new members. The Federation's first contact protocol had been refined over 8 centuries of peaceful expansion. They would approach slowly, transmit universal mathematical sequences to demonstrate intelligence, then gradually introduce themselves to the new species. The process required patience and careful diplomacy, but it had never failed. Every species they encountered eventually recognized the benefits of joining a galactic civilization dedicated to peace, scientific advancement, and mutual cooperation. Dr. Chen looked up from his displays with an expression of confusion. As the ship's xenobiologist, he specialized in studying new species and preparing first contact procedures. Something about this particular species troubled him, though he could not yet articulate what made them different. The technological progression seemed wrong somehow, far too rapid for any normal development pattern. The species called themselves humans, and they had achieved interstellar travel in less than 70 years from their first powered flight. Dr. Chen had studied the development patterns of hundreds of species, and this timeline was unprecedented. Most civilizations required millennia to progress from basic flight to faster-than-light travel. The mathematical model suggested such rapid advancement should be impossible without external assistance. Captain Rodriguez dismissed his concerns with a gesture. The Federation had encountered rapid developers before, though admittedly none quite this fast. Some species were simply more innovative than others. Their job was not to question why humans had advanced so quickly, but to welcome them into galactic civilization and help them understand their place in the greater community of peaceful worlds. When they reached the edge of the human solar system, Commander Veltar detected a small vessel near the third planet's single moon. The ship appeared crude by Federation standards, constructed from welded metal plates with primitive fusion engines and basic electromagnetic shielding. Compared to the Harmonious Dawn's elegant bio-integrated design, the human vessel looked like something assembled in a scrapyard. Captain Rodriguez ordered a standard first contact approach. They would position themselves at a respectful distance and transmit mathematical sequences to demonstrate their peaceful intentions. The human vessel, which appeared to be some kind of research ship designated New Horizons, responded quickly with their own mathematical transmissions. The clarity and sophistication of their mathematical understanding impressed even Dr. Chen. Communication proceeded rapidly through increasingly complex mathematical concepts, then moved to basic pictographs and finally to direct translation protocols. The humans seemed remarkably quick to understand Federation communication methods, grasping concepts that typically took other species weeks to master. Within hours, they had established clear communication channels. The human crew leader identified himself as Commander Jake Morrison, a title that seemed to indicate military rather than scientific leadership. This struck Captain Rodriguez as odd. since most species sent their finest scientists and diplomats on first contact missions. Commander Morrison's manner was professional and courteous, but there was something about his bearing that suggested combat experience rather than academic background. When Captain Rodriguez invited the human delegation aboard the Harmonious Dawn for formal first contact ceremonies, Commander Morrison accepted readily. The human delegation consisted of Morrison himself, a mission specialist named Dr. Lisa Park, and two other crew members who remained mostly silent during initial discussions. Dr. Park appeared to be their scientific representative, but even she seemed to combine research duties with what looked suspiciously like military training. The cultural exchange began normally enough. Captain Rodriguez explained Federation history and the benefits of membership in their galactic community. The humans listened politely and asked thoughtful questions about Federation technology, political structures, and territorial boundaries. Their questions seemed more detailed than most species asked during first contact, focusing particularly on defensive capabilities and resource allocation mechanisms. When asked about their own history and culture, the humans provided information that began to worry the Federation delegation. They casually mentioned that their species had been in a state of almost constant warfare throughout their recorded history. They described conflicts involving millions of casualties as though discussing routine historical events. Most disturbing to the peaceful Federation crew, the humans seemed to view these conflicts as beneficial rather than tragic. Dr. Park explained that human technological advancement was largely driven by military necessity. Their rapid progress in metallurgy, chemistry, electronics, and eventually space travel had emerged from the demands of warfare. She described this as though it were the most natural thing in the galaxy, but Dr. Chen found himself exchanging worried glances with other Federation crew members. Commander Morrison mentioned that human space exploration had military origins, developed initially to gain strategic advantages over other human factions. Their faster-than-light travel had been achieved through research into weapons delivery systems. Even their current research mission had defensive reconnaissance components, designed to identify potential threats to human territory. The conversation took an ominous turn when Dr. Park began asking detailed technical questions about Federation ship systems. Her inquiries seemed innocent enough at first, framed as scientific curiosity about advanced galactic technology. However, Dr. Chen noticed that her questions focused particularly on weapons capabilities, defensive systems, and communication networks. She seemed less interested in peaceful applications than in understanding Federation military potential. Commander Veltar, hoping to demonstrate Federation technological superiority and peaceful intentions, made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Without consulting Captain Rodriguez, he used his crystalline communication nodes to interface with the human ship systems and temporarily disable their weapons array. He intended this as a friendly demonstration of Federation capabilities, a way to show that they possessed advanced technology, but chose to use it peacefully. The reaction was immediate and terrifying. Commander Morrison's casual demeanor vanished instantly, replaced by something the Federation crew had never encountered before. Within seconds, the entire human delegation transformed from curious scientists into what could only be described as soldiers. Morrison's voice remained calm and professional, but his words carried an undertone of controlled menace that made Captain Rodriguez's skin crawl. Morrison firmly but politely demanded the immediate restoration of his ship's systems. His crew members moved to defensive positions with an efficiency that spoke of extensive combat training. Dr. Park continued her technical analysis of Federation systems, but her casual scientific curiosity had been replaced by what was clearly intelligence gathering. The humans had revealed something the Federation had no experience with, a species that treated potential threats as acts of war. Commander Veltar quickly restored the human weapons systems, apologizing profusely for the misunderstanding. But the damage was done. The humans now knew that Federation technology could remotely disable their defenses, and they had responded to this knowledge not with gratitude for Federation restraint, but with military countermeasures. Dr. Park had somehow managed to extract detailed specifications of Federation systems through their open communication links. Commander Morrison delivered his final message with the same calm professionalism he had maintained throughout the encounter. but his words sent chills through the Federation crew. He explained that Earth's military leadership would need to be. Captain Rodriguez immediately attempted damage control, broadcasting continuous apologies and explanations to the departing human vessel. She explained that Commander Veltar's action had been a misunderstanding, a peaceful demonstration of Federation technology meant to show their advanced capabilities without hostile intent. The Federation had used similar demonstrations successfully with hundreds of species over 8 centuries, always to positive effect. Commander Morrison acknowledged her explanations politely, but his response revealed a fundamental difference in thinking that terrified the Federation crew. While other species might have accepted the apology and moved toward forgiveness, humans treated the incident as critical intelligence about potential threats. Morrison explained that Earth's military leadership would analyze every aspect of the encounter to understand Federation capabilities and develop appropriate countermeasures. Dr. Park had already transmitted detailed scans of Federation technology back to Earth through quantum communication arrays that the Federation did not know humans possessed. The sophistication of their communication systems surprised Dr. Chen, who realized that human technology was far more advanced than their crude ship design suggested. They had apparently learned to disguise their true capabilities behind primitive appearances. Within 6 hours of the human delegation's departure, the situation spiraled completely beyond Federation comprehension. Long-range sensors detected multiple faster-than-light signatures approaching the solar system at impossible speeds. The incoming ships moved with precision and coordination that spoke of military training and advanced tactical doctrine. The Federation realized they had drastically underestimated human technological capabilities. Admiral Sarah Blake arrived, commanding a human task force that dwarfed anything the species should have been capable of fielding. Her flagship, designated Earth Defense Force Victory, was 3 times the size of the Harmonious Dawn and bristled with weapon systems that Federation sensors could barely analyze. The accompanying vessels showed the same sophisticated design, hidden behind functional, military-focused architecture. Admiral Blake's communication to Captain Rodriguez was professional but unmistakably firm. She explained that Earth took any threat to human vessels seriously, regardless of the claimed peaceful intentions behind such threats. She noted that the Federation's ability to remotely disable human systems represented a significant security concern that required immediate analysis and response preparation. Dr. Chen began frantically studying human culture and history through their global information networks, which Admiral Blake had granted him access to as a gesture of transparency. What he discovered defied everything the Federation understood about civilized development. Humans had not simply experienced warfare in their past. They had used conflict as their primary driver of technological and social advancement for their entire recorded history. The scale of human conflict dwarfed anything in Federation experience. Their Second World War alone had involved over 100 million casualties, a number that represented the entire population of some Federation member species. Yet humans spoke of this as simply one conflict among many, noting that it had led to revolutionary advances in technology, medicine, manufacturing, and organizational theory. Even more disturbing to the peaceful Federation mindset, humans had systematically weaponized nearly every scientific discovery they had ever made. Nuclear physics had produced bombs before power plants. Chemical research had created poison gas before advanced plastics. Computer science had developed encryption and cyber warfare capabilities alongside entertainment and communication applications. Every human innovation seemed to have military applications. Admiral Blake explained human military doctrine to Captain Rodriguez with the same casual tone another species might use to discuss agricultural techniques. Humans maintained large standing military forces even during peaceful periods, continuously developing new weapons and defensive systems. They conducted regular training exercises simulating conflicts with hypothetical enemies possessing various technological capabilities. When Captain Rodriguez attempted to explain Federation peace protocols, describing their 800-year history without major conflicts, Admiral Blake listened carefully and then asked a question that haunted the Federation crew. She wanted to know how the Federation handled species that refused to join their organization and actively threatened Federation member worlds. The question revealed a fundamental assumption that peaceful coexistence might not always be possible. The Federation had never encountered such a species in 8 centuries of expansion. Their entire diplomatic and political framework assumed that any sufficiently advanced civilization would naturally choose peace and cooperation over conflict and competition. When Captain Rodriguez explained this, Admiral Blake nodded thoughtfully and made notes that she said would help explain galactic power structures to Earth's strategic planning committees. Dr. Chen made a discovery that shattered his understanding of the first contact situation. Humans had been monitoring galactic communications for months before the Federation's arrival in their system. They had identified the locations of several Federation member species' home worlds, mapped major trade routes between systems, and analyzed Federation military capabilities through careful observation of exploration fleet movements. The human first contact had not been a chance encounter between an expanding Federation and a newly spacefaring species. It had been humanity's final intelligence-gathering mission before revealing themselves to galactic civilization. Commander, Morrison's research vessel had been conducting reconnaissance, not exploration. Dr. Park's technical questions had been systematic data collection, not scientific curiosity. Admiral Blake confirmed Dr. Chen's suspicions with disturbing casualness. Earth's military command had been tracking Federation expansion patterns for over a year, analyzing their technological capabilities and political structures. Humans had developed detailed assessments of Federation strengths and weaknesses long before making official contact. They had approached first contact as a strategic operation rather than a cultural exchange. The Federation delegation discovered that human space exploration had dual purposes from its inception. While they conducted legitimate scientific research, every human mission also gathered intelligence about potential threats and opportunities. Their rapid technological advancement had been driven partly by military necessity and partly by the assumption that they would eventually encounter other spacefaring species who might not be friendly. Admiral Blake explained that Earth's strategic doctrine assumed that any sufficiently advanced alien civilization would pose either a potential threat or a potential opportunity, and that humans needed to be prepared for both possibilities. She noted that the Federation's peaceful nature was encouraging, but that human experience suggested that not all galactic powers would necessarily share such benevolent intentions. The human analysis of Federation capabilities proved more accurate than the Federation's own strategic assessments. Admiral Blake pointed out vulnerabilities in Federation ship designs, communication networks, and defensive systems that Federation military planners had never considered. Her tactical evaluation revealed that the Federation's peaceful development had left them woefully unprepared for any form of serious conflict. Dr. Chen realized that human military technology had been specifically designed to counter the types of defensive systems that peaceful civilizations typically developed. Where Federation ships relied on energy shields and non-lethal deterrent systems, humans had developed kinetic weapons and electromagnetic pulse devices that could overwhelm such defenses. Their tactical doctrine assumed that potential enemies would use exactly the kinds of technology the Federation favored. The scope of human military preparation became clear when Admiral Blake mentioned that Earth maintained multiple defensive fleets positioned throughout their local stellar region. The task force currently in the Federation's solar system represented only a fraction of human military capabilities. She noted that Earth's strategic planning included contingencies for conflicts with technologically superior alien civilizations. Captain Rodriguez found herself in the unprecedented position of conducting diplomacy from a position of weakness. Every Federation first contact had involved benevolent integration of grateful primitive species, eager to join galactic civilization. Humans represented something entirely new, a military power that viewed the Federation as one option among many, rather than as an obviously superior civilization deserving automatic respect. Admiral Blake's final communication crystallized the transformed situation. She extended an invitation that the Federation crew recognized as barely disguised ultimatum. Earth's leadership wanted to meet with Federation political authorities to discuss territorial boundaries, resource allocation agreements, and mutual defense arrangements. She noted that humans preferred to establish clear understandings with their galactic neighbors, rather than leave such relationships undefined. The Admiral's closing remarks sent chills through the Federation delegation. She mentioned that Earth, maintained 6 additional task forces currently conducting reconnaissance operations throughout what the Federation con. The Federation High Council convened an emergency session within hours of receiving Captain Rodriguez's initial report. The Great Crystalline Amphitheater on Zentara Prime had hosted peaceful deliberations for 8 centuries, but never had the assembled representatives faced a crisis of this magnitude. For the first time in Federation history, the session was classified at the highest security levels as the Council feared mass panic if their populations learned the truth about humanity. Chancellor Thexara of the Zenari called the session to order with visible distress. Rippling through her crystalline communication nodes, the amphitheater buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from 400 species tried to comprehend the implications of first contact with a militaristic civilization. Many council members suggested that Captain Rodriguez's report must contain errors or misunderstandings, since such a species should not be able to survive its own aggressive tendencies. Dr. Chen presented his detailed analysis of human history and culture to the stunned assembly. The numbers defied belief. Humans had fought over 400 major wars in their recorded history, developed weapons capable of destroying their entire planet multiple times over, and continued advancing their military capabilities even during periods of relative peace. Most terrifying to the Council, humans appeared to thrive under pressure, becoming more innovative and resourceful when threatened. Councillor Murthane of the Aquatic Delphians suggested that humans must represent some kind of evolutionary aberration. Her species had achieved interstellar travel through careful cooperation and resource sharing, like every other Federation member. The idea that a civilization could advance through systematic conflict violated every principle of rational development. Surely such aggressive tendencies would have led to self-destruction long before achieving spaceflight. The insectoid Kythera, Representative chittered anxiously as she processed the information through her hive mind collective. Her species made decisions through consensus among billions of individual minds, seeking harmony and collective benefit. The concept of human individualism and competitive thinking was so alien to Kythera philosophy that they struggled to model human decision-making processes. How could a species function without consensus-based cooperation? General Korthak, the Federation's highest military commander, presented a classified strategic analysis that shook the Council to its foundation. His assessment revealed that human technology, while crude in appearance, demonstrated engineering principles that Federation science had considered too dangerous to pursue. Human faster-than-light drives operated on theories that Federation physicists had abandoned as unstable and potentially catastrophic. More concerning, human military doctrine appeared specifically designed to counter Federation technological advantages. Where Federation vessels relied on energy shields and non-lethal deterrent systems, humans had developed kinetic projectiles and electromagnetic pulse weapons that could bypass most Federation defenses. Where Federation strategy emphasized casualty avoidance and peaceful resolution, human tactics accepted losses in exchange for tactical advantage. Intelligence reports confirmed the Council's worst fears about human reconnaissance activities. Human ships had established hidden supply caches in dozens of unmonitored systems throughout Federation space. They had mapped critical supply lines, communication networks, and defensive installations with disturbing accuracy. Human behavior was consistent with long-term strategic planning for potential military operations. The energy-based Luminari attempted to analyze human psychology through mathematical models, but their calculations produced impossible results. Human decision-making appeared to involve emotional and intuitive factors that could not be quantified or predicted. Worse, humans seemed to value individual achievement over collective harmony, creating decision-making processes that appeared chaotic and unpredictable to species accustomed to logical consensus. The Council faced 3 potential responses to the human situation, each unthinkable within their peaceful philosophy. First, they could attempt to destroy humanity before humans gained complete knowledge of Federation capabilities and territories. General Korthak estimated a 60% chance of success if they acted immediately, but success would require genocidal action against an entire species, something the Federation had never contemplated. The moral implications of preemptive warfare horrified Council members who had devoted their entire civilization to peaceful coexistence. The Valthara representative argued that destroying humanity would violate every principle the Federation represented, transforming them into exactly the kind of aggressive species they feared humans might be. How could they justify becoming murderers to prevent potential future conflicts? The second option involved containing humanity within their current solar system through defensive barriers and continuous monitoring. This approach would avoid direct conflict while limiting human expansion into Federation territory. However, human behavior suggested they were driven by curiosity and resource acquisition needs that would not be satisfied by permanent containment. This solution would only delay inevitable confrontation. Containment also raised practical problems that the Federation was not equipped to handle. Maintaining a blockade around human space would require military capabilities that the Federation had never developed. Their exploration fleets were designed for peaceful contact missions, not hostile interdiction operations. Building the necessary military infrastructure would fundamentally transform Federation society. The third option involved attempting peaceful integration, bringing humanity into the Federation as a member species despite their incompatible culture. This approach offered the possibility of channeling human military capabilities toward Federation benefit, while gradually moderating their aggressive tendencies through exposure to peaceful civilization. However, human culture appeared fundamentally incompatible with Federation values. How could a peaceful alliance function with a species that viewed conflict as natural and beneficial? Human decision-making emphasized individual achievement and competitive advantage, while Federation policy required consensus and collective benefit. Human military doctrine assumed that some problems could only be solved through violence, while Federation philosophy held that all conflicts could be resolved through patient negotiation. The debate grew increasingly heated as species representatives struggled with concepts their languages barely contained words for. The Zanari proposed modified communication protocols to bridge cultural gaps. But humans seemed to prefer direct confrontation over subtle diplomatic maneuvering. The Delphians suggested technological solutions to reduce human aggressive tendencies. But humans appeared to weaponize every technology they encountered. Chancellor Thexara found herself facing a crisis that had no precedent in Federation law or tradition. Every previous first contact had involved primitive species grateful for the opportunity to join galactic civilization. Federation expansion had followed predictable patterns of benevolent integration and mutual benefit. Humans represented something entirely outside their experience, a potential equal demanding respect rather than guidance. Dr. Chen provided the critical insight that ultimately influenced the Council's decision. He argued that the Federation had been approaching the human situation backwards, asking whether they could afford to accept humanity into their organization. The real question was whether they could afford not to. 8 centuries of peaceful expansion had left the Federation vulnerable to exactly the kinds of threats that humans were evolutionarily designed to handle. The Federation's peaceful nature had allowed them to expand through regions of space that more aggressive species avoided. Their success had depended on the absence of militaristic civilizations that might challenge their expansion or threaten their member worlds. But what would happen when they eventually encountered species that shared humanity's competitive mindset, but lacked their apparent capacity for restraint? General Korthak supported Dr. Chen's analysis with disturbing intelligence reports. Long-range reconnaissance had detected signs of aggressive activity in unexplored regions beyond Federation space. Radio signals suggested the existence of militaristic civilizations that had not yet developed interstellar travel, but whose advancement patterns resembled human development. The Federation might soon face multiple human-like species simultaneously. The strategic implications were staggering. If humans represented a common evolutionary pattern rather than a unique aberration, the galaxy might contain numerous militaristic species that would view the Federation as prey rather than potential allies. The Federation's peaceful expansion had been possible only because they had not yet encountered such civilizations. Their luck was about to run out. After 18 hours of continuous debate, the Federation High Council reached an unprecedented decision. They would send a full diplomatic mission to Earth, led by their most experienced negotiator, Ambassador Intala of the Valthara. The mission would offer humanity formal membership in the Federation with conditions that acknowledged their unique cultural requirements while attempting to channel their capabilities toward mutual benefit. However, the diplomatic mission would be accompanied by the Federation's most. Ambassador Ntala arrived at Earth aboard the Federation flagship Eternal Harmony, 3 weeks after the High Council's decision. The massive diplomatic vessel represented the pinnacle of Federation engineering, its bio-integrated crystalline hull refracting Earth's sunlight into spectacular patterns that painted the surrounding space in shifting rainbows. The ship itself was designed to demonstrate Federation values, beautiful, peaceful, and completely non-threatening in appearance. The ambassador's diplomatic team included representatives from every major species in the Federation, chosen to demonstrate the diversity and harmony of galactic civilization. Dr. Chen accompanied the mission as cultural advisor, while Captain Rodriguez served as military liaison, though the Federation hoped military expertise would prove unnecessary. The team brought extensive gifts of Federation technology and offers of membership benefits that no rational species had ever refused. Earth's response immediately signaled the vast cultural gulf between human and Federation thinking. Rather than meeting the diplomatic vessel in space according to standard galactic protocol, humans insisted that negotiations take place on Earth's surface. Ambassador Ntala reluctantly agreed to this unusual arrangement, not realizing that it placed the Federation delegation in humanity's strongest defensive position while limiting their own options. The human delegation waiting at the United Nations headquarters in New York demonstrated the same professional competence that had characterized all human interactions with the Federation. Secretary of State Catherine Walsh led the negotiations with quiet authority, supported by General Alex Torres and a team of advisors who combined diplomatic credentials with obvious military training. Every aspect of the meeting location and procedures had been designed to give humans maximum psychological and strategic advantage. Ambassador Ntala began the negotiations by explaining Federation membership benefits with the confidence of someone who had never been refused. She described shared technology programs that would advance human civilization by centuries, peaceful trade relationships that would provide access to resources from hundreds of worlds, collective defense agreements that would protect Earth from any conceivable threat, and educational exchanges that would give humans access to the accumulated knowledge of galactic civilization. Secretary Walsh listened carefully to the Federation's presentation, asked thoughtful clarifying questions, and then began her own inquiries that revealed humanity's fundamentally different approach to galactic politics. She wanted detailed information about Federation military capabilities, territorial boundaries, resource allocation mechanisms, and decision-making hierarchies. When Ntala explained that the Federation maintained no military forces beyond peaceful exploration fleets, Walsh and General Torres exchanged glances that worried the Federation team. The cultural gap became a chasm when humans began outlining their conditions for potential Federation membership. They demanded guarantees of complete human autonomy in internal affairs, protection of Earth's territorial sovereignty, formal recognition of human claims to their local stellar region, and continued human control over their military forces. Most shocking to the Federation delegation, humans insisted on maintaining their weapons development programs and defensive preparations. Dr. Ben Carter, Earth's chief xenobiologist, presented a comprehensive analysis of Federation species that terrified the diplomatic team. Human researchers had identified potential biological and technological vulnerabilities in every Federation race, from the Xenari's dependence on specific crystalline mineral nutrients to the Delphian sensitivity to certain sonic frequencies. The humans framed this research as understanding their potential allies, but the Federation recognized it as systematic intelligence, gathering for potential military applications. General Torres explained human strategic doctrine with the same matter-of-fact tone that Federation species used to discuss agricultural cooperation. Earth maintained detailed contingency plans for conflicts with hypothetical alien civilizations possessing various technological capabilities. Human military commanders regularly conducted training exercises simulating defensive and offensive operations against Federation-style opponents. They had spent months developing tactical responses to every Federation system they had observed. The negotiations proceeded for 3 days with growing tension as both sides realized the fundamental incompatibility of their worldviews. The Federation offered partnership based on shared values and mutual cooperation, while humans demanded alliance based on clearly defined terms and mutual respect for sovereignty. Ambassador Intala found herself trying to negotiate with a species that viewed diplomacy as an extension of strategic competition rather than a path to harmonious coexistence. The talks collapsed spectacularly when Ambassador Intala made a critical error in judgment. Frustrated by human refusal to accept obvious Federation superiority and growing concerned about the time being spent on negotiations, she attempted to demonstrate Federation power by revealing the hidden fleet positioned at the edge of Earth's solar system. She explained that this show of force was standard protocol, designed to encourage cooperation by demonstrating Federation capabilities. The human response was immediate and devastating to Federation assumptions about the negotiation. Secretary Walsh calmly thanked Ambassador Intala for confirming human intelligence reports about Federation fleet positioning. She noted that Earth's defense networks had been tracking the Federation ships since their arrival and that human military analysts had been developing countermeasures to Federation weapons and defensive systems. Throughout the negotiation period, General Torres revealed that Earth's military had not been idle during the diplomatic talks. Human engineers had analyzed Federation technology captured during the First Contact incident and developed specific weapons designed to exploit Federation vulnerabilities. Earth's Strategic Command had positioned 17 stealth vessels within striking distance of the Federation fleet, armed with experimental weapons designed specifically to counter Federation shields and armor. President Maria Santos joined the negotiations via secure quantum communication link, delivering a message that shattered the Federation's understanding of their strategic position. She explained that Earth's military preparations had been based on the assumption that any alien civilization capable of interstellar travel would eventually pose either a threat or an opportunity requiring careful management. The Federation's peaceful intentions were encouraging, but human experience suggested that not all galactic powers would necessarily share such benevolent goals. As the Federation delegation processed the revelation that humans had been preparing for potential conflict throughout the negotiations, President Santos revealed the full scope of Earth's strategic preparations. Human reconnaissance missions had established supply caches and communication networks throughout the local galactic region. Earth maintained detailed intelligence files on Federation member species, their technological capabilities, and their potential strategic value in various conflict scenarios. Dr. Carter presented technical specifications for human weapons systems that had been developed, specifically to counter Federation advantages. Kinetic projectile weapons designed to overwhelm energy-based defensive systems, electromagnetic pulse devices calibrated to disrupt bio-integrated technology, sonic weapons tuned to Federation species hearing ranges, and stealth systems that could operate undetected by Federation sensors. The most disturbing revelation came when President Santos mentioned that human deep space monitoring stations had detected concerning activity in galactic regions beyond Federation exploration boundaries. Earth's military intelligence had identified what appeared to be aggressive expansionist civilizations that posed potential threats to both human and Federation territories. The Federation's peaceful exploration doctrine had apparently missed dangers that human military analysts had recognized months earlier. President Santos concluded the negotiations with an offer that horrified the Federation team while demonstrating the complete reversal of their diplomatic position. Earth was willing to consider joining the Federation, but only as equal partners rather than junior members. Humans would maintain complete sovereignty over their territory and military forces, continue their weapons development programs, and retain the right to conduct independent strategic operations. In exchange for Federation membership, Earth offered to share their military technology and strategic expertise with Federation species who lacked experience in defensive operations. Human military advisors would train Federation personnel in combat tactics and strategic planning. Earth's intelligence networks would provide early warning of threats that Federation exploration fleets might not recognize. Most importantly, human military forces would assist in defending Federation territory against external threats. The offer represented everything the Federation had hoped to avoid: acceptance of military solutions to galactic problems, acknowledgement that peaceful coexistence might not always be possible, and recognition that their 8 centuries of harmonious expansion had left them vulnerable to threats they could not handle alone. Ambassador Natala realized that the Federation was being offered partnership by a species that the Federation High Council faced the most critical decision in their 800-year history as they reviewed Ambassador Natala's devastating report from Earth. The great crystalline amphitheater buzzed with unprecedented anxiety as representatives from 400 species struggled to comprehend that their peaceful civilization was being offered protection by a species they had approached as potential subjects. The irony was bitter. Humanity was not asking to join Federation civilization, but offering to defend it. General Korthak presented updated military assessments that painted an even grimmer picture of Federation vulnerability. Human stealth technology was decades ahead of Federation capabilities. Their weapons were specifically designed to counter Federation defensive systems, and their strategic doctrine assumed that peaceful civilizations would eventually face existential threats. Most disturbing, human intelligence had identified aggressive species beyond Federation space that posed threats Federation exploration had completely missed. Chancellor Thexara struggled with concepts that had no precedent in Federation law or philosophy. How could they negotiate with a species from a position of weakness when every previous Federation expansion had involved benevolent integration of grateful primitive civilizations? Human demands for equal partnership violated every assumption about how advanced galactic civilization should function. Yet the alternative appeared to be facing unknown threats without adequate defensive capabilities. The debate revealed deep philosophical fractures within the Federation that had been hidden by 8 centuries of unchallenged expansion. Progressive species like the energy-based Luminari argued that human military capabilities could solve the Federation's inability to handle external threats, even if accepting such assistance required uncomfortable compromises. Conservative factions led by the Cathara insisted that embracing human militarism would corrupt the Federation's peaceful foundations beyond recognition. Dr. Chen provided the analysis that ultimately convinced the Council to accept humanity's terms. He argued that the Federation had been approaching the situation incorrectly, asking whether they could afford to accept human partnership. The real question was whether they could afford to refuse it. Federation expansion had been possible only because they had avoided contact with aggressive civilizations, but that isolation was ending whether they liked it or not. Human intelligence reports confirmed the Federation's worst fears about their strategic situation. Beyond their explored territories, an aggressive species known as the Devourers had been systematically destroying civilizations for millennia. The Devourers appeared to share humanity's military mindset, but lacked any capacity for restraint or negotiation. They sought complete annihilation of other species, viewing the galaxy as resources to be consumed, rather than communities to be joined. General Torres briefed the Federation Council through quantum communication links, explaining that Devourer technology appeared roughly equivalent to human capabilities, but served purely destructive purposes. Their ships showed no life support systems because they had apparently engineered themselves into cybernetic war machines that required no biological needs. They had already consumed dozens of civilizations and were expanding toward Federation space. The Federation realized that their expansion had been successful only because humanity and species like the Devourers had been keeping each other in check through mutual deterrence. Now that humans had achieved advanced interstellar capabilities, the Devourers viewed the Federation as a potential threat requiring elimination. The Federation's peaceful nature made them perfect targets for a species that interpreted diplomacy as weakness and cooperation as vulnerability. Admiral Blake's intelligence reports included satellite imagery, showing Devourer scout ships already probing Federation border systems. Their reconnaissance patterns suggested systematic preparation for large-scale invasion rather than exploration or first contact. The Devourers had apparently identified Federation territory as their next target for consumption, viewing peaceful species as easier prey than the militaristic civilizations they typically fought. Faced with an existential threat that their peaceful philosophy could not address, the Federation made an unprecedented decision. They offered humanity full membership with conditions that would have been unthinkable weeks earlier. Earth would maintain complete sovereignty over their territory and military forces, human weapons development would continue unrestricted, and Humanity would gain voting rights equal to species with millennia of Federation membership. President Santos accepted the Federation's offer, but with modifications that further demonstrated the reversal of galactic power structures. Earth would provide military protection for Federation member species, but in exchange humans would gain unrestricted access to Federation technology, scientific knowledge, and industrial capabilities. More significantly, human military advisors would train Federation species in defensive tactics, fundamentally transforming their peaceful civilization. The cultural integration proved as challenging as expected when human military instructors attempted to teach combat tactics to species that had never experienced conflict. Federation scientists struggled to adapt their technology for weapons applications, while human engineers worked to enhance Federation systems for military purposes. Captain Rodriguez found herself serving as a liaison between human pragmatism and Federation idealism, helping bridge philosophical gaps that seemed almost unbridgeable. Commander Morrison led the first joint Human Federation mission to establish defensive positions along the galactic rim where Devourer activity had been detected. The mission revealed both the potential and the problems of the new alliance. Human tactical thinking protected Federation vessels from Devourer reconnaissance, but human willingness to accept casualties for strategic advantage horrified their peaceful allies who had never contemplated such trade-offs. Dr. Park led joint research teams developing hybrid technologies that combined human weapon systems with Federation energy manipulation capabilities. The results exceeded both species' expectations, producing ships that could project Federation-style energy shields while firing human kinetic weapons with Federation-enhanced accuracy and range. The technological fusion created defensive capabilities that neither species could have achieved alone. 6 months after first contact, the galaxy had fundamentally changed in ways that neither species had anticipated. The Federation's era of peaceful expansion had ended, replaced by fortified borders and military patrols. Human technology had revolutionized Federation defensive capabilities, while Federation science had accelerated human development by centuries. Both civilizations had been transformed by their alliance. The first major test of the Human Federation alliance came when Devourer forces launched a full assault on the outer rim colony of Vega Prime. The battle became a proving ground for interspecies cooperation under fire. Human tactical command coordinated Federation species' unique abilities in ways they had never imagined possible, while Federation technology allowed human weapons to operate at previously impossible ranges and power levels. General Torres commanded the defense from the human carrier New Victory, coordinating with Captain Rodriguez aboard the Federation command ship Unity's Dawn. Their combined fleet included human stealth ships, Federation energy projectors, and hybrid vessels that represented the best of both civilizations' technologies. The tactical fusion created capabilities that confused and overwhelmed the Devourer attackers. The victory at Vega Prime demonstrated that the Human Federation alliance was not just politically necessary, but tactically superior to either species fighting alone. Human strategic thinking identified Devourer weaknesses that Federation analysis had missed, while Federation technology provided capabilities that human engineering could not match. The alliance had created something greater than the sum of its parts. Ambassador Intala, now serving as the Federation's first military diplomatic coordinator, reflected on the transformation during ceremonies establishing the Human Federation Joint Defense Command. The galaxy was no longer a place where peaceful species could expand without concern for external threats, but it was also no longer a place where aggressive species could prey on the defenseless with impunity. Chancellor Thexara addressed the combined Human Federation Assembly with words that would have been impossible before first contact. She spoke of learning that peace was not the absence of conflict, but the presence of justice backed by the willingness to defend it. The Federation had discovered that sometimes the greatest act of peace required the courage to fight for it. The new reality manifested in joint military academies where human tactical doctrine was taught alongside Federation diplomacy and technology. Students from both civilizations learned that strength and compassion were not opposites, but requirements for survival in a dangerous galaxy. They represented a new generation that would grow up understanding that idealism without capability was merely wishful thinking. Admiral Blake and General Korthak collaborated on strategic plans that combined human military doctrine with Federation resources and diplomatic networks. Their joint command structure integrated human rapid response capabilities with Federation long-term planning, creating DeFi.